This is not the video I thought I would be making today, but it is excellent news for many of you who enjoy the Steam Workshop in Space Engineers as your go-to place to get community creations, worlds, mods, scripts, and more. Following a lot, and I really do mean a lot, of community backlash and negative reception, developer Keen Software House has changed its decision to abandon the Steam Workshop for its upcoming sequel game, Space Engineers 2. It's a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. There are some key details to discuss today. Stick around to find out more. While you're watching, let me know your honest thoughts on this news in the comments below. Hey everyone, my name is Captain Jack. I've been covering Space Engineers for over 10 years now, so if you want the latest development updates and gameplay news, hit that subscribe button. If you want to support my work on this channel, hit that join button to help me make more videos and get some fantastic benefits. Okay, let's go. This afternoon, on Friday the 10th of January 2025, Keen Software House released an update about their decision on the user-generated content workshop for Space Engineers 2. Before we dive into the announcement, here is some context on the news for those who might be out of the loop. Previously, with the roadmap release of Space Engineers 2 and the official game reveal back in December, it was noted that Keen would not use the Steam Workshop, as they had done for the first Space Engineers game, and instead use Mod.io, another platform for delivering user-generated content. This user-generated content includes things like mods and user creations, so your blueprints and mods that you upload and share online. Many players, community content creators, and others were not happy with this decision. As I said in my previous video on this topic, I fully understand why Keen made this decision. They even said so themselves. The idea of having Mod.io was to have a one-stop destination for user-generated content. Using Mod.io would stop the split player base between PC players for Space Engineers 2 and console players. This split player base is present for Space Engineers 1 at the moment. Now this happens because the Steam Workshop is not available on consoles, such as Xbox and PlayStation. As such, console Space Engineers players only have Mod.io at their disposal. Keen's goal was to only use Mod.io for their workshop for Space Engineers 2. Now the developer did say that they were planning on introducing their own in-game UGC workshop, which would only use Mod.io as a backend. While some were open to this idea, it still appeared the majority were not happy with the Mod.io integration. Many players in the Space Engineers community, including those who developed some significant mods and creations for Space Engineers 1, were very unhappy with the decision to abandon the Steam Workshop in favour of Mod.io. One of the primary reasons for this was due to the loss of community. What do I mean by this, you ask? Well, Space Engineers 2 is a sequel game. As such, many players and content creators, which by content creators I mean modders, developers, community creators, and even YouTube creators like myself, these would eventually transfer over to the second game. Now these players and creators have established Steam Workshop communities. Taking that away was a big issue for many, and rightly so. The loss of a community can be very damaging to community-run mods. Other issues with Mod.io include the lack of direct message privacy and things like collections being absent, which are useful features on the Steam Workshop. I'll talk about some of the other features we previously spoke about later in this video. Let's talk about the good news. As mentioned earlier, Keen have surprisingly dropped the news that Space Engineers 2 will use the Steam Workshop to deliver user-generated content. In this announcement, posted to all of their social media, which shows you how big of a deal this is, Marek Rosa, CEO of Keen Software House, personally said the following. I have good news to share. Space Engineers 2 will use Steam Workshop as its primary platform for user-generated content. This decision comes directly from listening to our community, particularly our content creators, who have expressed a strong preference for the Steam Workshop. Keen's initial plan for Space Engineers 2 was to use Mod.io to provide a unified backend for both PC and console platforms. However, the community feedback from all of you watching this video and all of you in the Space Engineers communities clearly let Keen know how you felt on this. The feedback made it clear that the Steam Workshop had an established ecosystem along with critical features that are very important to the PC community. Marek noted that when the Space Engineers community talks with such a clear voice, it is important that the developers listen and adapt their plans accordingly. This is great news. I really want to thank Keen Software House and Marek for listening to the community on this one. It's clear to me, and now hopefully Keen as well, that many of you are super passionate about the Steam Workshop, including its features and ecosystem. Swapping it out for another platform just won't cut it for a sequel game. So, Steam Workshop support for Space Engineers 2 will be added on the first major update for the game following the early access launch on January 27th. Yes, this does mean it won't be immediately available in the early access alpha launch. which was never the case anyway, but instead it comes as a first update in Vertical Slice 1.1. That makes perfect sense, and I am happy to also report that Keen's roadmap has been updated online visually. Console players, I hear you. I totally understand that this decision will not resonate well with you at the moment, particularly as Mod.io is of course a vital service for you on consoles to share your creations. Keen also understands that and has said that they are evaluating the best approach to provide console players with a user-generated content access. They will share more details as we progress through development. It is worth noting that console development of Space Engines 2 does not appear to be a massive priority with the SE2 development team at the moment, so that gives the developers plenty of time to find a solution that works well for everyone. In the future, I really hope that on big critical decisions like this, Keen actually asks the community. They have a giant community Discord. Holding polls or forums or emails or anything like this to gather user feedback is vital. Many games do this, many big companies and media organizations also routinely gather feedback. You don't have to act on all of it, that's completely fine. But I still think when you're planning on making a change that's going to be as decisive as this, then asking people what they think of it is probably a key critical detail. That's just something I'm thinking of a future reference, and yeah. Because in some ways, making a decision like this, while it may have good intentions, i.e. having a unified workshop for the entire community, not just PC splitting with Xbox, it does say that maybe it's a little bit out of touch. That's just my 10 cents on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I think it's pretty clear that Keen have watched and listened to the community feedback on this occasion. Just reading the comments on social media really shows that a large part of the community were not happy with the Mod.io decision. In my own comments section, I saw many of you commenting that you'd either not pre-order Space Engineers 2 or you plan to refund your early access copy of the game over this decision by Keen. In today's society, money does indeed talk. I think situations like this really highlight why it is important to have your voice known. If you're passionate about a game, like Space Engineers, and something happens that you don't personally agree with, then let developers like Keen Software House know. At the end of the day, we are paying customers. We have a right to be heard about the type of content we are paying for. Feedback is vital, especially for in-development early access projects like this. Many relate the continued success of Space Engineers 1 to the vastness of the Steam Workshop. Keen themselves even mentioned that Space Engineers 1 has one of the largest Steam workshops on the platform, which is super impressive for the game and community. Hopefully, when Space Engineers 2 launches its Vertical Slice 1.1 update and introduces the Steam Workshop, we too can play a part in making that massive, filled with some fantastic community creations. So just as a quick note, I wanted to address something quickly. During my previous video on the lack of Steam Workshop support for Space Engineers 2, I mentioned that Mod.io does not include an unlisted mode. That is somewhat incorrect. I have added a note to my previous video, and that will stay there once I update it with the latest information. Mod.io does include a preview mode, which allows you to share a link to a logged in user to preview your creation, whether that be a mod or blueprint upload. While it's not a complete unlisted section, like the Steam Workshop, it is at least halfway there. While it does work, you still need to have an account with Mod.io to log in and actually view the preview. So not really unlisted. I'm not a massive fan of this. Typically unlisted allows you to view something without being logged in. On Steam, I can do that. On YouTube, I can do that, and many other websites. Hopefully, Mod.io will update that in the future, as it is a bit annoying personally. Secondly, Mod.io does have a version of collaboration support. Many users were concerned about this. It does seem to be the case that you can have a team for a mod on the Mod.io workshop. I just want to issue those corrections and apologise if that confused anyone. The platform still has some glaring issues which I think do need to be addressed, such as the lack of privacy around direct messages. For example, Mod.io appears to have a problem with the abuse of direct messages and privacy on the platform. You can't seem to lock down your direct messages and block random people from messaging you. Personally, I and many other creators, community members and developers do not want to be constantly direct messaged by everyone online. Just saying, it's a choice we and anyone reserves the right to do in this day and age. Collections still appear to be absent from Mod.io. Steam Workshop supports this, as you can see on screen. It's a vital feature for the expansive user-generated content platforms like the Steam Workshop. Creators and community members use it to organize and showcase their creations in-game. So the fact such a critical feature like this is missing from a growing platform, I hope they fix it at some point, because I really think it could improve Mod.io, and hopefully it does. Thanks for watching this video on Space Engineers 2. Thank you for also voicing your concerns about this topic in the comments of a previous video. I am so glad that we, as part of a Space Engineers 2 community, can enact positive change based on how we feel. If you've enjoyed this video and want to keep up to date on the development of Space Engineers 1 and Space Engineers 2, hit that like and subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest videos here on the Captain Jack channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.